So in the last tutorial, we have seen that how do we perform CRUD operations in MVC application using AddedOn.NET. So at that time, I've told you that the purpose of that tutorial was just to see that how do the application interacts with database using AddedOn.NET. So we have actually not used, we can say, any architecture over there, but that was actually not the good approach. Yes. So basically, we should have different layers in the application so that we are able to segregate the functionality. So, and in this tutorial, we will see, we are going to use MVC core application in this demo. Okay. So what is application architecture now? So application architecture is the process of defining the framework of an organization's application solutions against business requirements. It describes the behavior of the applications used in a business, how they interact with each other and with the users. It is also focused on the data consumed and produced by applications rather than their internal structure. It ensures that your application is scalable, reliable, and manageable. So before we proceed further, what is an architecture now? Now, let me tell you a very simple example. Suppose if I start a restaurant, initially, like if the customers are very less, so I can perform all the, we can say, like functions. So one person could be cook, that person could be manager, and that person could be waiter also. Why? Because restaurant has just started, so there are no customers initially, or there are less customers. But as soon as the customers start reaching your restaurant and you're getting more and more customers, so we will hire more and more people so that every person or every that worker can perform his or her dedicated task. So we can hire cooks, we can hire waiters, we can hire managers also. Depending upon their role, they will perform their work. Okay, so again, if the customers are again coming more and more, so we can add more and more people in different roles. Similarly, when you talk about any application architecture, so application, whether it's a console application, it's a Windows application, it's a web application, again, different components are there in an application. The different components of an application are the front-end part, the back-end part, and the middle layer. Just like I said, in a restaurant, different roles like manager, waiter, cook. Similarly, in an application, different components are there. So the components are the front-end part, the middle layer part, and the back-end part. Front-end part is that part through which the user interacts with your application. So that means the presentation layer. And the data access layer is that part, or we can say in simple terms, the backend layer is that part which actually interacts with the database. So all those statements has to be there. Middle layer is in between presentation and data access layer. Its purpose is that whenever the request is sent from the presentation layer, or the case of the front end part, the request has to be authenticated, validated. Once all the validations are done, the request is sent to data access layer for the further process. Okay, so application, different components. If application is very small, I can have those three components in a single application also. What do we call that? Single tier application. Single tier application means the application in which all those components, which components? Front end, middle layer, and the back end are in a single project. Why? Because might be application is very simple application. So we don't need to create multiple projects for different functionalities. If the work is increasing, your application gets more and more hits, or it becomes more complex, again we can divide. So we can have one project that will talk about the presentation layer, one project which will talk about the backend part, we can say. Similarly, if application becomes more and more complex, so now we can have different components. We can say different components will sit in different projects, which means one project talks about the presentation layer, one project talks about the business layer, and the other one will talk about the data access layer. I just tried to give a very simple explanation using that restaurant example. More and more customers coming. Again, initially also different roles were there, but because the customers were less, so all the roles were being performed by a single person. But when the customers are coming, so we are hiring more and more people so that they can perform the dedicated task. Similarly, whatever application you create, those components will always be there. Which components? Front end, back end, and the middle layer. Application is a very simple application. One project can handle everything. It becomes more and more complex. So we should actually divide now in different, we can say, layers. Okay. So in software engineering, multi-tier architecture or multi-layered architecture is a client-server architecture in which presentation, application processing, and data management functions are physically separated. The most widespread example of multi-tier architecture is three-tier architecture. N-tier data applications are applications that access data and are separated into multiple logical layers or tiers. Separating application components into discrete tiers increases the maintainability, scalability of the application. So it does this by enabling easier adoption of the new technologies that can be applied to single tier without requiring you to redesign the whole solution. We already discussed these things, but we can again go through this slide also. So entire architecture includes a presentation layer, middle layer, and a data access layer. The middle layer typically includes the data access layer, business logic layer, and shared components such as authentication and validation. The data tier includes a relational database. N-tier applications usually store sensitive information in the data access layer of the middle tier to maintain isolation from the end users who access the presentation tier. The benefits of having N-tier architecture is that all the modules having dedicated functionality will be independent of each other. Changing one tier will not affect other tiers, and there is no single point of failure. Even if some tier is not working, speed of development will increase. Why? Because different team members can work on different we can say components now. Scalability will increase, availability, performance will also increase. In a typical N-tier application, there will be three layers. So those three layers are data access layer, business logic layer, and the presentation layer. Apart from these, there are two more layers that we can add, data layer and the business entity layer. So business entity layer means it is that project which actually contain all the classes which represents your domain used in all the layers across the project, or we can say across all the layers. Data layer is the bottommost layer. It contains the tables and the store procedures, scalar functions, table valued functions. It is typically the database engine itself. Examples of such system could be MySQL, SQL Server. Basically, it is the database engine itself. Data access layer. On top of the data layer, we have the data access layer. This is the layer which is basically responsible for handling all the database related tasks. It is created as a separate solution so that the changes in this layer only need the recompilation of this project only and not the complete website. So the benefit of having this layer as a separate solution is that in case the database engine is changed, we only need to change the data access layer. For example, suppose if I'm using MySQL, so the data access layer will contain the commands that you use in SQL Server. Now suppose later your data layer changes or you want to work with Oracle or with some other database now. So we need to only work in the data access layer without affecting the business entity layer, business access layer, and the presentation layer. Also, the changes in the other areas outside this solution will not demand for data access layer recompilation. Business logic layer. On top of the data access layer, we have business logic layer. It contains all the calculations, the logic, the business rule validations which are required in the application, often written in Java, .NET, Python, C++, C#, etc. It is also a separate solution for the reason that if the business rule changes or the calculation changes, we only need to recompile this layer and the other layers of the application will remain unaffected. presentation layer. Finally, on top of the business logic layer, we have our presentation layer. It consists of the user interface. It is the web application, which is often written in HTML, CSS, JavaScript. The presentation layer for an application is all the form and the classes contained. It is responsible for taking the user input, showing the data to the user, and manually performing the input data validation. This is that layer through which the user interacts with your application. Okay, so this is the diagram we can see. This is your data layer. So this is the database engine, data access layer, which actually interacts with the database. Business logic layer, in which all the validations, logics are overwritten. This is the user layer, user interface layer, or the presentation layer, which could be Windows application, web application, mobile application, console application. Okay. So these are the steps to create the entire application now. So we will see the demo in the MVC application for this scenario. So we will create our front end application, which will be MVC application. So that will become your presentation layer. Then we will add some libraries. So the libraries will be business entity layer, in which you will put all the classes. This is business logic layer, which contains the methods, and those methods will call methods of the data access layer. Data access layer library, which will call the methods to the database directly. Okay, so these steps are there. Now we will see the steps one by one in the demo also in MVC application for the same. Okay, so now let me go to the demo part. I will again go to Visual Studio from here now. And if you remember, this was the project that we discussed in the last tutorial. So in this tutorial, okay, I have not taken any we've not followed any architecture over here. So this was a controller, and the controller was directly interacting with the database. That means all the connection, command, all the classes we've taken directly here only. So what I will do, let me create a project here only. I will say add new project. And again, I will choose the same template, ASP.NET Core Web App. We'll name it as MVC using N-tier architecture. So we have this project that we can see from the Solution Explorer now. We have this project here now, this one. Okay, again, we get the same structure, we get the controllers, models, views, but the difference now, okay, so this will become your presentation layer. This will become your presentation layer now. So let me create, okay, more projects. I will say again, let me create a new project only. New project, I will choose this template. I'm going to start from beginning again. So adding the first project, let me name it as, suppose, MVC application using give this name to the solution here, and the project name I will give it, suppose this is my presentation there. Okay, let me again go to the here only. This is my main application which I'm going to create now. This is a presentation there. It's using end here. This is a solution name. Let me click on next. So we will get a new project here. This is the presentation layer. So now we need to add some libraries. I will say file, add new project. We'll choose from here library, class library. And we'll go with this library, this one. A project for creating a library that targets .NET or .NET standard. We'll name it as business access layer. business entity layer. We'll add next project. So new project. Again, we'll choose library only. So business access layer. Let me go back. Let me have the proper name. I'm using these names so it's easy for you to understand. New project. So again, we'll choose library only. So this will become the data access layer. So basically we have 4 projects here. This is the presentation layer. This is the main application. That is MVC application in our case. This is the business access layer. This is the business entity layer and this is the data access layer. Okay, once it is done, now let me go to the business entity layer here only. And okay, the table that I will be using here is the same table. I will use in the same database, CompanyDb, and we'll have this table also. I've taken the same table in the previous demo also. So you can run this query in case the database is not there. So let me create a class here first. So we'll go to this particular project. Let me rename this class. We'll rename it as inventory. So yes, this is your, we'll add the properties here now. So prop int inventory ID. Next we have drop string product name. We copy the column names from here only. Quantity in stock. This one. Again, I should use title case here. Int reorderLevel. That will come here. Then we have DateTime AddedOn. So basically all the classes, the domain we have to store in this project only, this project. Okay, once it is done, now let me go to the data access layer over here. So this is that project in which we will write all the database related queries here only. So let me go to this project, this class. Let me rename this data access layer. This is a class name. Let me go to this file. Okay, so I should actually install that package here only. So let me right click over here. We'll say manage NuGet packages and we'll install that package also. Which one? System data SQL client. Because all the collections classes we will be using here only. Click on OK. Accept. We can find it is added here only now in this project. Let me go here. So let me use here the classes SQL connection. It's not coming. I should press Control dot. So we have to use this namespace also here. SQL connection. Then we need, let me add some methods also here. Public SQL connection get connection. But from where that connection string will come. So what we can do, let me write it here only. So let me write a method here first. I will say string get connection string. And let me write here now return. Let me copy this connection string from here, this one. So return this connection string. And then, yes, so this I should call from here now. So we can again say return new SQL connection in bracket. This function should come get connection string. So this function, this method will return the connection object. So there is no need to make it public also. After that, I should write all the methods that we will be using. We will use to like perform the operations like create, edit, delete in this class only. So public list of inventory. So it's not coming, which means in this project, I need to add a reference to this project. So right click over here and then we can say add existing project. We'll choose existing project. So this, and then we can add, okay, this project here, business access, business entity layer here. Once it is added over here, let me add this also using business. Yes. So I can say get inventories. I should take a list here of inventory type, because this function should return all the inventories from here. So again, using SQL connection, get connection, using SQL command is equal to new SQL command dot command text should be select star from the table. Again, command dot connection is equal to this. But next, connection dot open. Then we should write here SQL data reader command execute reader. If reader has records, if it returns true, then what we should do, again, I should use that object initializer over here. Then we can say read all the records. So while reader dot read, then we can again say we'll initialize this object here. So inventory ID and value should come from reader to convert this to integer. Then we have product name will come from reader. One need to convert this to string here. Then we have quantity in stock. Convert this to integer again. Reader 2 means second column. ReorderLevel is equal to, and need to convert to integer. Again, why? Because it actually returns value in object form. So reader, fourth column, AddedOn is equal to DateTime. Reader, fifth column. We need to close it here, start it from here. Then we have to add this to the inventories list. So if it has rows, we will say return inventories. This if is closed here, else return null. This is our first method, which is basically like returning all the records from the table. Now, once it is done, let me first go to this project. This is that project which will actually make call to the function in the data access layer. Let me change its name also. We'll rename it to business access layer. And here I will add a reference to these two projects. So we'll say add project reference. We'll add reference to these two projects. This is fine. Let me write here also using business entity layer and using this layer. List inventory. Let me give the names, the method names, okay, same only. So this was the first function. This was get inventories. We'll keep the same name here also. Get inventories. What next? We can say, but before that we need reference to that object. So data access layer. Then we can say return dot get inventories. This is the first function, and this function then we will call from the presentation there. Basically, I'm showing you the first function only first. This was the project in which the actual code was written, which was actually interacting with database to get all the records, which I'm calling from business access layer from here, and this function will be called from presentation layer now. Let me go to the controllers here first. We'll add one controller here. That will be inventory controller. We'll again choose this template. We'll name it again as inventory controller only. But I need to add reference to two projects here. So we'll again go and we'll say add project reference here. We'll add reference to this project and this project. So business entity layer, this will be added in all the projects. And once it is added, now we'll write here using. Now let me go. So let me add this also business access layer. This is BAL. And here I can make call to that function. We can say BAL dot get inventories. Some records will come. So those records I can store it here. So we can say list of inventory. And this will come from this namespace. So this is also added here. So this is inventories is equal to, and this I can return here now, inventories. Let me run this project first, but before that let me add a view also for this. We will again say right click and we can say add view, and this view will, I will choose this template now. We'll again use scaffolding. We'll choose list template based on which model? Based on, okay, so this class. Click on add. If everything is okay, so we should get a view also here. Okay, I think I missed something here in the controller. Sorry, in this data access layer. We have to open the connection also. It is open, but we need to close it also. We close it once the here. So we can say here connection dot close. Okay, let me run this project now. Okay, so if you write here now slash inventory, so we should get that record here. Yes, so this record is coming because in the previous tutorial also I created that table. So that table was having one record. So I'm able to get that record over here. And again, we can see the project structure again one more time. So this is the presentation layer or the front end part, which in our case is MVC application. So we can see in this demo, we are not using anything related to database in this project. We are only making call to the methods which are available in this file, business access layer. And this is also not like having anything related to the database. We are only making call to the data access layer, this method. And this method is in which project? This method is in the, we can again see it from here also. It is coming from this. So this is that project which basically is interacting with the database. So all the commands like your select, insert, delete are being written in this project only now. Okay. So this is the first method. Now let me add other methods also here. So let me write here now. Let me see. So this is closed here. Here I can say public. I can say int create, which we will receive inventory object here. So inventory. In all these steps which you need like to perform the insert operation will come here. SQL command. Then we can say command dot command text is equal to insert into table name is inventory, and because inventory ID is identity, we will not use that column name here because it is auto generated. Second column is, let me copy the column names from this notepad 5. These are the column names that we need, these columns. So product name, then we have quantity stock, then we have reorder level, and the last one is added on. Let me close this bracket here. Then we will say values at the rate product name. Second parameter will be quantity in stock. Then we will have reorder level. Then we have added on. So we need to pass these parameters also. So this is closed here, bracket is closed. This is your query now. Then we will say, once it is done, we will say again command dot connection is equal to this connection object. Okay. Now we need to pass the parameters also. So we will say again command dot parameters dot add with value. So value for this parameter. So I will be using at the rate. This will come from inventory dot product name, command dot parameters add with value. Value for this parameter, this one, will come from inventory dot quantity in stock. Value for this parameter, reorder level, will come from inventory dot reorder level. Value for the last parameter at the rate added on, this one. Come from inventory added on. Once it is done, then we will say connection dot open the connection, and then I will say here command dot execute reader. Sorry, execute non-query. Yes, execute non-query. Connection dot close the connection also. And what we will do, I will also return, because execute non-query, it returns number of rows affected. Yes. So let me store it in a variable here. We can say int count is equal to, and then we can return that also. So we can say it is closed here. So the brackets are also closed. Here I can say return count from here. So let me declare this variable not here, but do it here. So int count. Sorry, int count. I'm returning this count from here now. Okay, so it's done. Now let me call this method from the business access list. So we'll go to this project now. We'll add one more method. So public int. Let me check the method name. I want to keep the method name same only. So create. So we'll again go to this project and we'll again pass object of inventory type. So we will say return this, calling this function from here. Now I will call this function from the presentation layer. Let me go to the controller again. So we know that to perform the create operation, we need to add two methods. One will be called because of get request. So return view. Once it is done, we'll go to this method, again create, but now we will receive that object also, which will come from the form. And here I can write, we have to write HTTP post. So we can simply say business access layer dot create, and we will pass this object from here. Then we can say return view, and I want to go to, we can say return redirect to action. Here we want to go to index action method. Yes, I'm not using it right now. So we can see that how easy it is now, because in the front end part, I'm just making calls to the business access layer methods. I'm simply making the calls, okay, from here is independent of that how we're performing the task. I'm simply calling the method create from here. So the logic is also not written here. It's actually written in the data access layer. We need to add the view for this also. So right click again, we can add view. We'll choose this template. We'll choose create template from here based on which class, based on the inventory class, which comes from the business entity layer. Click on it. If everything is okay, so we should be able to perform the create operation also. Okay. And we know that we will not give value for the inventory ID. Yes. So let me comment, okay, this part, because it's identity. So let me run this project now again. So let me go to the browser. Yes. So this should also work now. Let me add the product name. Suppose this is shirt. Then we have suppose 85, 20. Great. Okay, we're getting some error over here. Okay, so we missed, okay, this comma in between. And this problem is in the data access layer project only. So we'll go to this file. So we missed something here. Here. Yes. Run it again now. Resend. So we can see that record is also added here now. And if you remember in the previous tutorial, we have talked about the profiler. So I can go to SQL Server and we can open the profiler from here, this one. So which lets you see whatever queries are getting fired on the database or on SQL Server. Connect here. We can say run. Now if you again go and refresh this from here, this is a refresh, so we can see that it will fire that query. Which query? Select star from inventory. Okay. So we'll again go to the same project. We will perform two more operations now for edit and delete and for details also. So we'll say public again, want to return a record, inventory, get inventory, will pass ID. Same steps will come. So let me copy these two statements from here again to save time only. So we'll put this brackets are also closed here. So my query is now command text select star from inventory where inventory ID is equal to @ID. Command dot parameters add with value. So value for @ID will come from this ID. Command dot connection property we will set with this connection object. Then connection dot open. Then we will say command dot execute reader. So the records will come and that record we can store in SQL data reader. Again we can say if reader has rows. This property returns true or false. So we'll read that record. So there is no need to use any loop here because there is a single record here. We'll read that record. Then again I will use this initializer. So let me declare this object here. Sorry, this is inventory object. We will say inventory. Well, then here we can say if record is found, inventory is equal to inventory. We'll again use object initializer here. Again copying it from here. This part we need. Let me expand this from here. So we need this part. Then we can say once it is done, if it's closed here, we can say connection dot close return, which could be null also if the record is not found. So now let me add other methods also. Okay, first, so let me create two more methods here. We'll add here method public. We will receive ID and we'll receive inventory object also. Okay, but before that, let me write here inventory obj is equal to get inventory will pass ID. Then we can say if obj is not null, we'll try to update the record from here now. And your query will be command dot command text will be update inventory. Want to change quantity stock reorderLevel in AddedOn. Let me copy it from here again. Let me copy these columns. Set quantity stock is equal to parameter will be @this reorderLevel is equal to @reorderLevel, comma AddedOn where inventory ID is equal to @ID. Close this here. Again command dot parameters add with value. Let me again copy this from this create method only. So we need all these parameters from here. So we'll copy it. But we need to pass value for that ID also, inventory ID also. So we need this also. Okay, product name, okay, we don't want to change. Let me delete this part from here. The last one is command dot parameters add with value. Value for @ID will come from ID. Okay. Command dot connection is equal to connection. We'll open the connection here now. And we will say command dot execute non-query this function. So this using is closed, then we will say connection dot close. Okay. Okay, let me take here void only. Okay, so there is no need to return anything. Okay, from here as of now. This is edit inventory. So this is closed. Okay, let me see what error is coming. Okay, this was for the edit. Let me write the method, okay, for delete also. So let me copy this code to here. This is delete inventory, so there is no need to pass inventory object. Then we will say delete inventory from inventory, where, let me close it from here. So we don't need all the things where inventory ID is equal to ID. And there is no need to take these things also here. Yes. Acted at this line. Okay. Okay, this is done now. Let me call these methods from the business access layer now. So we'll go to the solution explorer. Then I will go to business access layer. We'll call those methods here. Public void. Let me copy the names, okay, from here only. So edit inventory. We will pass ID and inventory object. So this is also, let me change the name here, so edit inventory. So we need to pass two parameters here. Used parameters. Okay. So public void delete inventory. We simply call this method public void get inventory. Let me take the name, okay, from here only. We need to call this method as ID. Okay, but this has to be of inventory type. And we can say return data access layer dot get inventory will pass ID from here. Yes, the methods are written here. Now we need to call the methods from the presentation layer, which means the controller here in the MVC application. Okay, so public action result details ID. We will say return view and we will call the function. Which function? This one. Get inventory will pass ID also from here. That's it. Let me add the view for this. Okay, we'll add the views later. Then we will say public action result edit will pass ID first. Okay, so let me take inventory object here. We'll call the function, which function? Get inventory by ID. If it is count, then we can say return to the view. Then public, we will say edit. We'll pass again two parameters. Other one will be inventory object. So business access layer edit inventory will pass ID and inventory object also. Once it is done, this object. Then once it is done, we will say return redirect to action. We want to go to index action method from here. Yes, this will be called on post quest. I action result, you'll say delete. Again ID. Same thing, okay, will come here also for delete. This is for delete. Then you want to, we'll say again public, then delete it. We'll again pass ID from here, and we can say simply we pass the ID. Again, we can say return to indexation method. Will be called on post request. So the methods are written. Now we need to add the views, okay, for these action methods. For details, I can simply say right click. We can say add view. I will choose this template. Then I will choose from here details, and then the class will be this one. If everything is okay, so we should get a view for this action method. We'll add two more views for edit and delete action methods. Okay, let me again go to the controller. We'll add view for this also. So you'll say add view, razor view. We'll choose the template from here, edit, and the class will be this one. We should get, we are actually getting three more views. We already added views for index and create. Okay, let me again go to the controller. We'll add one more view for delete action method. So right click, we can say again add view, razor view. We'll choose delete template from here based on this class. Click on add. Okay. Once these all the things are done, we need to do like some more modifications. Right now my code is working. We can see that we are able to see the records here, but these links will not work. Edit details and delete. Why? So we can see in the project in this index view, which is coming here, inventory, this one index. So we can see that these links are commented. So we need to remove these from here. So this should be inventory ID. Okay, need to change one more thing. If you go to this delete view, when you submit, we need to go to which action method now deleted. So we'll change the name from here. Also, I need to pass ID also. I will take input element, input type is hidden. We'll say name is equal to ID. we have to use it here. So that value for this ID should also go. Yes. When you click on delete, so we should be able to see a view. And when you click on delete, like confirm, we should go to deleted action method. And you're also passing the ID from here. Let me run this project now. So start without debugging. So we should go to the browser. So create new is working. We already checked this. So let me write here, suppose jacket 100, suppose 30. Click on create. So the record is added, and we can also see in the profile that it's already running. So we can see that that create query was fired. So yeah, insert into inventory. This query was fired. If you again go click on details, so we should get that record. So we can see that this query is also fired. Select star from inventory where ID is equal to 2. You click on edit, go to list, edit. I want to suppose change the quantity in stock to 100, this to suppose 30. Click on save. So we can again see this query is also fired here. Update inventory. This is also fired in the backend. When you say delete, click on delete. So this record should be deleted now. When you click on delete, it should go to deleted action method now. Okay, record is not deleted. So let me check in the profiler what problem is coming here. Okay, so I think delete query is not fired. Okay, so let me again check in the code only. So when you go to controller, okay, right click, go to the method definition, delete inventory, yes, right click. Okay, we're actually directly going here. Right click again, definition. Okay, this was not correct. Delete from inventory, where inventory ID is equal to @ID. This was not correct. Let me run the project again now. Again go to browser, click on delete, delete. Okay, again check on the profiler. Get inventory. Okay. Let me go to the view for this. Okay, so okay, the problem I think is when you click on delete, we're going to this action method. Okay, so the problem was actually here. So this inventory ID, okay, that we're passing should be in double quotes. When you click on delete, so it should go to this action method, and we have to pass this value also, inventory ID, that will go to this ID parameter. So this should actually come in double quotes. Let me run the project again now. Start with .debugging. When you run the application, let me again go to browser. Click on delete. So this record should be deleted now. Let me write here. I think the record is already deleted. Yes. And we can see that the query was also fired in the backend here. So delete from table, and we can see the column, the value is also going to the ID. Okay. So we're able to perform all the CRUD operations in MVC application using the entire architecture in which we added some projects. So business access layer, data access layer, business entity layer. These three projects are libraries. This is the, we can say, client application, which in our case is MVC application. Again, you can see this slide. So in main application, add reference to business entity layer and business access layer libraries. In business access layer, we have to add reference to the business entity layer and the data access layer. Data access library, we have to add reference to the business entity layer. Okay. So with this, we are done with this demo now. So in the next tutorial, we will see that how do we do the same thing, but we will be using repository pattern over there. So we will see how do we perform the CRUD operations using AddedOn.NET in MVC application, but we will focus on using repository pattern. I will also put link of this project over GitHub for a reference. Again, how do we do that? So we have to go to this add to source control from here. We'll have to choose Git, and then simply it's coming, this name is coming, repository name. I can change it also. We'll make it public, and then we can say create and push like that only. So this will be pushed to GitHub now. We'll add this link in the details section for a reference. Hope you like this video. Bye for now.